Hi, my name's Joe with Focus on Christ. Welcome to the Focus on Christ podcast. I am super excited to have you with me today, and I can't wait to jump into episode 17. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit more from the book The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. This is one of my absolute favorite books, and if you are a leader, this should be on your bookshelf, no doubt. However, before we jump into this material, I want to go over just a couple of really quick things with you. If you haven't been over to our website recently, www.focusonchrist.com, so www.focusonchrist.com, I want to encourage you to do that as soon as we're done here. As soon as you're done listening to this podcast, I want you to go on over there and check out some of the resources that we put on there. We have a lot of new videos that have just been put up, and we have an entirely new program out there, the 14-Day Focus Challenge. And just like it sounds, this program is designed to help you learn how to set up your goals, how to set up your day, how to be productive in a super fantastic way so that you keep Christ at the center of absolutely everything you do. So I want to encourage you to go check that out. It'll definitely be worth your time to go do that. So today we are going to learn about the law of the Big Mo. The law of the Big Mo. So this is one of my favorite laws. This is a really exciting law to talk about. There's just so much going on here, and we're going to dive right in. Momentum is a leader's best friend. Momentum is a leader's best friend. So if you recall, if you haven't heard one of the older episodes, in these episodes, we are changing a couple things up. What I'm trying to do is provide a little bit more teaching content on the front end, and then keep the episodes a lot shorter for you so that we'll be able to deep dive into the material really quickly, and then go over a biblical example of what that looks like, and wrap it up. So it is a little bit different format than some of the prior ones. So if you weren't in the long format, maybe you'll like the short format a little bit better. I'm trying a little bit of both to see what's going to work best, and if I can get some feedback from you, that would be awesome. So let's dive into the law of the Big Mo, which says momentum is a leader's best friend. And this is really an exciting subject, like I said, because throughout life, look at some of the your life. Think about some of the organizations that have done really well, and some of them that haven't. Maybe it be a business, or maybe it be a church. Have you ever been in a young church that's growing and thriving, and people are just being saved all the time, and it just feels like there's just this massive amount of energy all the time? That's momentum. In a business, maybe you know a business startup that went from $0 to $100 million in a year, or 5 years, or even 10 years would be pretty quick to go from $0 to $100 million in business. And it just keeps going and going. It seems to get faster and faster. If they hit 100, then they hit 500 the next year, and after they hit 500, then 6 more months, they're at $1 billion. How does that happen? That happens because they have leadership in place that understands the law of momentum, and they're maximizing on that, and they are just rolling that. It's that snowball effect. You ever made a snowman when you were a little kid, and you start with a little tiny little ball of snow, and then you roll it, and it gets bigger and bigger, and all of a sudden that you can't even roll it anymore because it's accumulating snow so fast that it just gets gigantic super fast just with one turn. Now, if you're not from up north, I apologize. Maybe the snowball analogy doesn't work for you. I know last year we didn't even have any snow here in Arkansas, or we had a flurry or two, something like that. So I get it. If you're from down south, maybe you're not as familiar with snow, but trust me, the snowball analogy works. So let's talk about some of the steps that are some of the key attributes that you're looking for as a leader to ensure that you can either develop or sustain, or to ensure that you're on the right track as a leader with the law of the Big Mo, because the law of Big Mo is your friend. If you have momentum in your organization, all obstacles seem easy. If you have no momentum in your organization, then every little tiny detail that goes sideways looks like a giant obstacle. I'll share with you a couple of examples from from my personal life recently. I started my own business in about a year and a half ago, and I was just working at things slowly, didn't have any momentum, and every time I ran into a technical hurdle, or I got tired, or whatever, I had a prior commitment, or I had had to make that choice between what I was going to do and what I wasn't going to do. I didn't have any momentum, so it was easy to get off track. Then come January of this year, I developed a lot of momentum, and I was really doing things things were going well, and then I had a mistake in my business, and everything stopped. And so all that momentum that was just building, it just stopped. And I didn't know how to recover. And then I got the flu, and it took me a week to recover from that. And then it was one thing after the other, and I had to learn how to rebuild momentum. And once momentum's lost, it is super hard to recover. And so I want to encourage you, if you have momentum, it's not the time to take a break. It's time to press the gas. If you have a fire that's starting to burn, you don't take the fuel away. You provide more fuel. So when you have the momentum working for you, you want to fuel that. What I learned how to do was to not let those stops be so permanent. You acknowledge them, they happen, you give yourself some grace, and you move forward as fast as possible. You got to start with where you are if you want to develop momentum. The idea that you wish you were somewhere else will never help you to develop momentum. It doesn't work that way. You have to start exactly where you are. If you're starting with an organization, if you say you're moving into an organization or a body of faith or something to do with your family, and there is momentum going already, and you step in there, if you are the impediment to that momentum, or if you cut it off or you stop it, you are going to ruin all the momentum in that organization. Is going to be extremely detrimental to your forward progress. If you can figure out how to get behind it and roll things forward and make changes over the course of time, that is hugely important. And what we're talking about with momentum is we are talking about affecting change. We're either talking about affecting change within our organization, or we're talking about affecting change in the market, or we're talking about affecting change to reshape that business. No matter how you look at it, you are starting with where you are. You need to start where you are, not where you wish you were or where you want to be, but you need to start exactly where you are. You need to seek wisdom first. And this may sound a little bit simple, but there's some other parts and pieces coming in here. But you want to seek to make not even just wise decision, but you want to seek wisdom before you seek other attributes. You want to make wise decision and earn credibility early. When you're coming in, when you're trying to affect or maintain momentum, you want to make wise decisions to build your credibility over time. If the decisions you make are self-serving or self-centered or do not have the mission and vision that God has given you or has for that organization and moving it forward, you're going to lose credibility. And when you begin to lose credibility in your organization as a leader, you're going to see your momentum slowing down. So from an analytical standpoint or a metric standpoint, when you are watching your numbers and they're going the wrong direction, you need to look at your leadership and identify where it is that you're losing momentum and what the impediments are. And if you are the impediment, fix yourself quick. If somebody else is the impediment, fix them quick. And one of the business mantras that I follow is excise cancer quickly. Cancer is never good over the long haul. You excise cancer quickly. So if you identify an impediment to your forward momentum, it's either you and you need to be fixed ASAP, or it's something or someone else and that needs to be excised immediately. When you do that, you earn credibility with your followers, with your organization, and with your co-leaders and those above you as well as below you. You need to maintain the peace. You need to identify ways to maintain the peace. One of the things that will destroy momentum is when, a lot of times when you have momentum and you're moving forward and you're really climbing, all of a sudden you start getting egos. Ego starts becoming involved because people begin to attribute that success to themselves or something they have done, or they begin to elevate themselves in their own eyes. You need to figure out how to rectify those situations and find a peaceful way to do it, because if you have a significant disruption in a portion of your organization, business, family, whatever that is, that as a leader you come to it and you don't know how to peaceably resolve that, then you're going to kill your forward momentum. You need wise counselors or coaches. You need to surround yourself with wise counselors counselors or coaches. And I am, it was, and it's going to fail me right now. It was, it was the king who, he sought two groups of counselors, the wise counselors and then his friends, and he chose his friends, and he ended up destroying the Israelite nation because he placed heavier burdens on them than his father had, and it was really a terrible situation. He sought the wrong counsel. You need wise coaches, wise counselors, wise mentors in your life. That doesn't mean they have to like and act the same way you do. It means that they need to be able to serve you in capacity that's going to help you and your organization grow. Without good mentorship and without good coaching in your life, quite frankly, you're not going to be able to move forward. You're going to get to a point, and all of a sudden it's going to stop, and you're going to notice your momentum is either stagnant, which means it's going downhill, because in life there is no such thing as inertia. You're either going up or you're going down, but you can never remain where you are. You'll notice that your momentum stalls. And at that point, you're like, okay, who do I need to be talking to? Who do I need to be coached by? Who do I need to be mentored by? What are the weaknesses in my organization and in my leadership right now that need to be addressed? And you take care of them immediately. And you need to avoid momentum breakers. If you want to abide by the law of the big mo, you need to avoid things that are going to break your momentum. I talked about one of those at the very beginning. When you walk into an organization for the first time, you have choices. Am I going to break the momentum of this organization, or am I going to accelerate or get behind the momentum that's going on in this organization? And so you need to identify quickly those things that are going to break momentum. Sometimes there are personnel things that are going to break momentum. Sometimes there are technology things that are going to break momentum. If in business, all the time we talk about, okay, are all your eggs in one basket? Is the only ad platform that you're using Facebook? If it is, they're all in one basket. And if Facebook changes their policy, your business is dead. It's over. It's gone. And you have no backup plan. And that's not a very good place to be, because it will break your momentum. And when that happens, business just collapses. It wasn't so many years ago that Google changed their a major policy on their website, and overnight, thousands and thousands of businesses went under because they changed how they were doing business, and it killed all their businesses. And it happens that fast when you're not diversified. And so you, as a leader, you need to be able to identify those points that can potentially break momentum in your future and address them early, and then you can blow past them and beat out your competition. And you can do that. I'm using some business analogies here, but it applies in your faith as well. There are momentum breakers in your faith. If you put yourself in situations that are compromising, if you're married and you put yourself in a compromising situation, your momentum in your relationship is breaking. If you do things in your faith and you put yourself in compromising situations in your faith where you know you're entering an environment of sin that is going to break your momentum. If you do things that are in violation of the mission and vision that God has called you to, they will break your momentum. And so you need to be on the outlook for that as a leader. You need to avoid those situations. So we're going to look at the story of Nehemiah. And it's a fun Old Testament story. We're going to go to Nehemiah 4, and we're going to read verses 9 through 20, and we're going to look at that story and see how. I want you to listen for all the areas that the law of momentum applies in this particular story. So Nehemiah 4, 9 through 20. And it says, "And we prayed to our God and set guard as a protection against them day and night. In Judah it was said, the strength of those who bear the burdens is failing. There was too much rubble. By ourselves we were not able to rebuild the wall. And our enemies said, they will not know or see till we come among them and kill them and stop the work. At that time the Jews who lived near them came from all directions said to us 10 times, you must return to us. So in the lowest parts of the space behind the wall, in the open places, I stationed the people by their clans, with their swords, their spears, and their bows. And I looked, and arose, and said to the nobles, and to the officials, and the rest of the people, do not be afraid of them. Remember the Lord, who is great and awesome, and fight for your brothers, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your homes. When our enemies heard that it was known to us, and that God had frustrated their plan, we all returned to the wall, each to his work. From that day on, half of my servants worked on construction, the other half held spears, shields, bows, and coats of mail. And the leaders stood behind the whole house of Judah, who were building on the wall. Those who carried burdens were loaded in such a way that each labored on their work with one hand and held weapons with the other. And each of the builders had his sword strapped at his side while he built. The man who sounded the trumpet was beside me. And I said to the nobles and to the officials and to the rest of the people, the work is great and widely spread, and we are separated on the wall, far from one another. In the place where you hear the sound of the trumpet, rally to us. Our God will fight for us. This is a fantastic story, and you can see so many of the things that we just talked about with the law of momentum playing out over the course of this story. Nehemiah had a choice of where to start. He had to start where he was. It was a really bad situation, but he had to start somewhere, and so he started. He had to seek wisdom, so he sought wisdom from God. And sometimes that will be where you seek your wisdom from. It may be the only person in your life at that particular time who has your back, who understands your mission and vision, because he's the one that gave it to you. And so you need to seek that wisdom. You have to make wise decisions and earn credibility. So what did Nehemiah do? He spaced the people around the city. He gave one person the job to work and one person the job to guard. He's building credibility. He's showing security. He's providing for the people and taking care of them. Again, making wise decisions. He's maintaining the peace. He could have fought with the nobles that came in and were talking trash and causing a problem. He could have fought with those men, and he could have caused a consternation and a lot of problems, but he focused on the thing that was most important, which was rebuilding the wall and rebuilding the city. He sought wise counselors or coaches. In this particular case, it was God. He went to and surrounded himself and felt his presence. And then he avoided those momentum breakers. The momentum breaker would have been if he had said, okay, everybody strap your weapons on and go to the wall. But no, that's not what he did. He said, one of you is going to work and one of you is going to guard. And then when that portion of the situation was over, he goes, okay, you're going to work and you're going to carry a sword on your hip. And he just kept that work going and going and going. And he didn't allow the circumstance to dictate the outcome. He determined the outcome. He saw, just like we saw in the last episode, the law of victory. He knew the line. He wasn't willing. He said, this is the line. We will not cross it. We will win. We will succeed. And he he learned how to develop momentum, and he kept it on his side, and he kept the work going, and he didn't take time off, and he didn't let that circumstance control him. And as a leader, that is so important, that you do not let the circumstances that surround you dictate the outcome of your work. So critical, and it's so important. I hope you now have a better understanding of the law of the big Mo. It's momentum is a leader's best friend. Super important, super valuable lesson, and as a leader, it is something you really want to get behind. Like I said, it's one of my favorite lessons. All of them are. I love the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. Before you get out of here today, I want to make sure that you've gone over to focusonchrist.com. That's www.focusonchrist.com, www.focusonchrist.com. Make sure you check out that website. We have a lot of new resources going up. There's just a lot going on, a lot in development. I want to make sure that gets into your hands. Also, we've just released the 14-day Focus Challenge. That's an awesome challenge where we're going to give you the tools, the resources, the education to really be able to kind of map out things for yourself if you haven't done that in a while. Maybe you've never done it in your life. As a leader, there's some things in there that we're going to be able to really help you get your mission and vision under control and figure out how to set up some goals that are actually going to work for you this time rather than work against you and give you that win that you've been looking for. So go ahead on over and check that out. Also, if you haven't been on our social media platforms and engaged with those and subscribe to them, I want to encourage you to do that. We have you can find us on Facebook at our Facebook group, on Instagram at Focus on Christ, on Focus on Christ _. You can find us on our YouTube channel, Focus on Christ, and of course our podcast wherever you're listening to and locating that at. We're in all those locations. If you have comments or questions on today's episode or any other episode or anything else concerning Focus on Christ, drop them in one of the comments somewhere, and I will get those, and we'll be able to address those and answer your questions. I love being able to talk about what I'm passionate about and how I want to be able to help you. What would help me even more is if I knew from your lips to my ears how it is that I could help you very specifically. So you can always drop a comment, or you can email us at support@focusonchrist.com, and we'll look into what your questions and answer them either in this format or on a Facebook Live or something like that. So super excited to cover the Law of the Big Mo today with you, and I'm even more excited to see you guys next time on the next podcast. Until then, God bless.